Welcome to Stitches in Time, the podcast discussing Doctor Who the way it was meant to be watched, in chronological order, one clip at a time, starting at the Big Bang and ending with the heat death of the universe. I'm Becca, the Matrix Archivist, and I spent the last 12 years of my life meticulously editing the entire televised Doctor Who universe into chronological order.
And I'm Mandy, and I guess Tom Baker has heard me talking shit. I gotta say, he kind of hurt my feelings a little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah. Talking about how I'm gonna destroy everything, and I'm this big danger. Like, I've been around Tumblr for a really long time, so I know a call-out post when I see it, but you still don't expect it to happen to you.
That's fair. I mean, look, at least he didn't use your real name. That's...
But even then, like... my name is Mandy. I say it at the beginning of every episode of the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where it gets Randy. I'm not Randy. I'm Mandy.
I think he's also trying to dead name you as just like an extra little twist of the knife, not realizing that you're a cis person. And also joining us once again is our favorite author of The Devil That Knows You, The Heart Vein Chronicles, the Game Master on Strumpets and Flagons, and the Final Fantasy obsessed video game streamer, Josh Close.
You got me. You got me figured out.
Yes, I finally did it.
Those are all true things.
Amazing. I like all of those things. Admittedly, I have not experienced most of them, but I'm excited to change that about myself.
Hooray.
Because I want to be a good person.
And that's the only way to be a good person, is to consume various forms of media.
To our listeners, the only way to be a good person is to specifically consume Josh Kloss media.
I didn't want to put it so bluntly. I didn't want to give that away, but yeah, it's true.
It's that and watching Stitches in Time edited into chronological order.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the podcast though. That's not actually. You do end up on a call out post. You will be canceled for listening to this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tom Baker will spread rumors about you that you hate children and that you're trying to destroy the universe. And of course, we are talking about Dimensions in Time today, but not the part of Dimensions in Time that you're thinking about if you've seen Dimensions in Time.
I gotta tell you, Becca, I was not thinking about any part of Dimensions in Time. That doesn't occupy any space in my head.
That's a good point. The only way to be a good person is do not ever think about Dimensions in Time. The 1993 Doctor Who Children in Need special.
We're doing thought crimes now. We'll know. If you just thought about it, you're a bad person.
And yes, this is, of course, the randomly generated into 7418 BC. And this is the bit where Tom Baker has said, yeah, okay, I'll do a Doctor Who thing, but I refuse to work for more than 30 minutes. Just stick me in front of a green screen and let me do a very short monologue, and that'll be my contribution. Which, to be fair, I think is basically his level of commitment to Doctor Who ever since stepping out of the role of the Doctor on the regular show.
This is an urgent message for all of the doctors. It's vitally important that you listen carefully to me for once.
Yeah. And it is very local TV, home video that gets rolled out in the middle of your class, that level of green screen.
I was going to say, it looks like in the background I'm learning that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
It does.
They just have some triangles.
Yeah.
It's early 90s BBC CGI, which makes it mid 80s CGI. Mm-hmm. And it's just what if we put a bunch of blobs around him that'd be something, right? And
That's space, right?
everybody was apparently like, it's for charity. We don't want to use too much budget to make this thing in the first place, which I guess kind of makes sense. We don't want to put too much thought into this ahead of time.
But we need to put him in a place, because I'm like, just have him outside. Just find like a nice little place to sit. You don't need to have triangles in your background. Have him at home. If he's going to do a call-out post, he should do it at home.
Yeah. This should be like one of those lockdown era specials where it's just Jodie Whittaker in her closet recording a thing about COVID. Dimensions in time is a weird thing because, so Josh, I don't know if you know about what has become known as the wilderness years, but basically Doctor Who was like soft canceled between 1989 and 2005 with a little TV movie there in 1996.
You say soft canceled? It was canceled.
I mean, it was canceled, but the BBC never said Doctor Who is canceled. It was just like,
we're not making any more of it. They proceeded to not make more of it. They said, we're done here. Bye-bye.
We finished the bit. Unless.
So this was a much needed? No, not much needed, but this is, the only bit of Doctor Who that anybody had seen in about 4 years. So, Doctor Who lovers were like, oh my gosh, there's new Doctor Who. And then they were like, I shouldn't have been excited about that.
I don't think Star Trek has had that long of a break. Star Wars had a longer break.
Right.
And so just trying to think of an analog of so that would have been about a 10-year break or an 8-year break between the last Doctor Who on TV and then this. And I'm trying to think of something analogous
it was like a 4-year break.
4-year break, okay.
Yeah. So it wasn't crazy. But for a show that was running regularly on the BBC.
Yeah, Star Wars doesn't really work because they weren't meant to make those were movies, and they're like, well, we made all the movies, and then they decided, well, okay, we'll make some more movies.
Yeah, I guess after Star Trek Enterprise, there was that drought, and then they came back and hey, we'll do some more Star Trek, and so whatever was released Star Trek wise in the interim, but if it was made for charity, and they were putting Patrick Stewart inside a PowerPoint presentation.
What if the J-Brums Star Trek movies were made with $12?
How could you afford any lens flares with that? It couldn't work.
Couldn't work. Barely afford a lens.
Lens flares is the only thing that they have.
Yeah.
They have lens flares and some clip art of the Enterprise that is just being dragged across the screen.
And J.J. Abrams in front of a microphone doing his damnedest to do a William Shatner impression. Yeah, this is not good. Now the whole thing, the entire Dimensions in Time episode centers around the Ronnie, who is a
horrible lady who hates children. So I have to assume that it's just someone who is not dating, did not want to fuck Tom Baker, and said, it's a horrible woman, she hates children.
Our whole existence is being threatened by a renegade Time Lord known only as the Rani. She hates me. She even hates children.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So the Rani, we're not going to meet, I don't know when we meet the Rani, but I don't think it's for a while, because she's not in that many episodes. But she is a somewhat recurring Doctor Who villain, who's basically in the 80s, the Doctor Who team was like, what if we had the master, but it was a lady? And then Stephen Moffat was like, why don't we just make the master a lady? Here's the thing, friends. In the story of this episode, Tom Baker is purportedly sending a warning message to his other incarnations to, like, watch out, there's some bad shit going down. And if you watch the rest of the episode, the BBC edit, none of them ever are warned about it. Nothing, this is just, hey, we've got Tom Baker. Let's do something. I don't know.
Well, it appears that maybe Tom Baker was disconnected from the Zoom call, but he has not yet realized that he is disconnected from the Zoom call.
That might be it.
Tom, you're on mute, bud. Tom.
So it's just the ramblings of a person. They've already, they've put him in a separate room. They've closed it off. Like, we're done, bud. We don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, this is the first time we're seeing Tom Baker or Tom Baker's doctor since that Zoom call. So this is what he's been doing for the last 1,000 years. It's just tapping the microphone and like, no, guys, listen, hey, there's this thing happening.
I appreciate that they made sure to get the microphone in frame.
Yeah, they really just were like, you know what? I don't care anymore. It's
like, you gotta appreciate that man is gonna be cozy. He's like, you are not making me do shit. I'm going to be reclining in this chair, sitting comfy.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna give some devastating news, but I'm gonna be very chill about it. Do we think that the emphasis on how Randy really wants to kill children is because it's part of the Children in Need special? And yes, I know you said it's the Ronnie. It's Randy.
Okay,
that's
it's
just,
Randy.
With the English accent, it's difficult to hear. I'm talking shit about Randy. Who is me? Yeah. I'm Randy.
You are very Randy.
I'm really excited to hear what I'm going to be doing. As we've finished our Castrovolva arc, and we're kind of getting to the new arc, and I'm trying to find out what the new connective pieces are, what our next season is going to be. And learning that there's this kind of audience participation is really fascinating.
And not audience participation in the sense of you get to really decide how you want the story to go, or hey, send your letters and we'll read them out. No, you are the nemesis.
I am the nemesis. I do have to let Tom Baker know. Becca, what year was this again?
This is, of course, I can't believe you didn't remember when I said this earlier, Mandy. It's so obvious.
It was 79-18 or something.
I am trying to find the tab on my spreadsheet and then making my way down to the 74-18 BC, obviously. Gosh, it's just so obvious.
So I don't mean to disappoint Tom Baker, because he's really passionate about this kind of stuff. I'm not in 74-18 BC. I'm not there yet. You gotta wait a while to get to me. I am a little busy. And by me, I mean the origins of mankind are still kind of sorting themselves out at this point. I think we are, at this point, there are people. There's not me. We still have one of the ancestors that will eventually.
Yeah, we're still figuring out how to make tribes. We're pretty far off from civilization and things like that. Mandy, I feel like this is a good opportunity for your signature segment, Mandy-splaining, in which you, or should I say Randy-splaining, describing what you think Tom Baker is warning people that you are going to do in the future when you show up on Earth?
Well, it's hard to know, and it really seems like the kind of thing where the version of me that Tom Baker is warning us about has not yet come to me, but I am now thinking will actually come to me pretty soon and tell me about just giving me, I assume, the lotto numbers. It's the Back to the Future things again. I'm Biff, apparently. I'm gonna be doing some evil shit from the version of me that comes in the future, and also says, hey, I wear shoes because you wear shoes.
Wait, are you a future incarnation of the Doctor? Is that what that means?
That would also like keep in track of like the Doctor kind of being a little self-hating, and that's why I hate Tom Baker and Tom Baker hates it. We're kind of the opposite of what we saw last episode with Time Crash. We are the anti Tennant and Davidson.
Makes sense.
You are not wearing a hat and a plush robe.
Yeah, I'm Randy, and we are going to see the arc of Randy. The Randy, which so I want to say it was high school, one of my friends told me about that she overheard people talking about me, but they were specifically referring to me as the Mandy.
Wow.
The Mandy. So the Randy stuff, like this is like, no, that is a thing. She never told me what they were actually saying. Like she claimed like, oh, I didn't actually hear it, which I have to presume meant that it was bad and she was saving my feelings.
This is also, it's giving very much like Christopher Eccleston saying, your name's Ricky. No, it's Mickey. No, it's Ricky. It's the same letter that we're changing. There's something about R's and M's.
I also appreciate that in our Stitches in Time edit, now at hour 9, we are getting part 1 flashing up at the bottom of the screen so that we know we've got a ways to go here.
Yeah. This is part 1 of Dimensions in Time. We've got. This is just how Classic Who works. They chop everything up into parts and hope for the best. Now, I know what all of us are thinking, because obviously you are the diehard Doctor Who fan, Josh Foss. I can see it all over your face, Josh. You are just like, Becca, doesn't the inclusion of Dimensions in Time necessitate you also editing all of the British soap opera EastEnders into Stitches in Time? Because this Children in Need special is a crossover episode between Doctor Who and EastEnders, which is a weird choice to make, because in the future clips of this episode, all of the doctors and companions run into cast members of EastEnders in the street market in the future.
I was about to ask that. Thank you for bringing it up.
I'm sorry if I... do you want to ask that question?
Hey, what about EastEnders?
Josh, I was really hoping you wouldn't bring this up. God damn it.
Now, how hard would it be to edit EastEnders into chronological order?
I have never seen EastEnders.
Yeah.
Right. I have to assume, like, the editing is not the difficult part. The difficult part is not immediately getting sued for pirating EastEnders, because what you will have done is just upload all of EastEnders at once. At least, like, with Stitches in Time, there is a lot of editing involved. Like, there's there is creative license. There has been a transformative work. I think when you upload all of EastEnders in chronological order, that's going to be a more difficult argument.
True. Also, and here's a fun fact I didn't know about EastEnders. I knew it was a long-running show. I didn't realize that there were 33 seasons of EastEnders.
Goodness gracious.
When did it start?
1985, according to IMDb.
And I was hoping that it had started earlier, because it was like, well, if you do that, then we have something to break up all of the bit where he's just stuck at one point in time.
Yeah.
So it is a soap opera. There are 7,000 episodes.
It's apparently still running. There is an episode that came out yesterday as we record this podcast. This is not going to happen. But my aside from legal issues and honestly not wanting to do it issues, my justification is that Dimensions in Time, the episode, does not have opening or closing credits because it's part of a kind of telethon fundraising situation, I think. I think that's how Children in Need works. We can ask if either of you know a real British person that we could ask about that, that'd be great.
No idea. I've never met a British person.
Okay. But because there are no credits in this, I am assuming that while the actors who play the Doctor are clearly playing the Doctor, they're traveling in TARDISes, they're getting caught up in time shenanigans. The actors from EastEnders in this are just playing British people. Mm-hmm. There's no literal definitive proof in my mind, and therefore in all of your minds, listeners,
that they're the EastEnders people. They're just people.
Right. In the same way that I am refusing to edit in that one clip of Red Dwarf that Ben insists has the TARDIS in it in the background. Not going to happen. Because then I'd have to edit all of Red Dwarf in there. I'd have to. That's the rule.
I mean, you could say that you're doing it because we're never getting there. Oh, Becca, yeah. We're never getting to Red Dwarf. that is so true. There is a whole... And after the first episode, they go 1,000,000 years into the future where all of civilization has died. We're never getting there.
That's true. That is true.
The podcast won't, but the edit will.
Right. There's also another part of this that is not canon because there's like I don't know if either of you watched the actual full video of
Absolutely this. Not.
Good. There is a framing device part of this in which it's a live studio segment where John Pertwee, as the Doctor, walks onto set and does some very stupid scripted jokes with whoever the host of this thing is.
Jerry Springer.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Famous British beloved talent.
Oh, sorry, Gerald Springer.
Thank you.
Gerald Springerton Smythe. So my other rule that I haven't really had a reason to bring up on the podcast yet, but my other sort of rule about what's canon and what's not is I've decided that anything that is performed in front of a live audience is not canon, because then we get into this weird...
Then we're canon?
Yeah. Is everyone on Earth, are actual people also characters in Doctor Who? And then do we have to include everything that everyone has ever been in throughout history?
Becca, I think the answer to that is no, except Mandy. And I'm now forwarding you all of my home videos from a young age, so you can edit all of me into Stitches in Time.
I will also be editing the video of this podcast into the Stitches in Time edit of just it's gonna cut from like Shooty Gatwa like dropping off Ruby Sunday at her mom's house, and then just cut to us being like, so what welcome to Stitches in Time.
But only the bits that Zoom catches that is me.
Yeah, only when you are on camera. Yeah. Perfect.
We have to respect canon.
Absolutely. Josh, does watching all-time fan favorite Dr. Tom Baker
Josh, I need you to know that's not a joke. Tom Baker is so beloved. Yeah. I have the most controversial take of I do not like seeing this man, and people get so angry and irate about it.
Mm-hmm. So now that you've seen what a lot of fans consider like the definitive Doctor, does this Dimensions in Time clip make you be like, maybe I should get into Doctor
Who? Here's what I will say, going back to our previous discussions, if we can go back that far in our memories, this does bolster up the persuasive argument to not start with Classic Who.
That is true.
I really feel vindicated having someone on my side like, well, this is classic. If this is the best of classic Doctor Who, don't go there. Don't do that.
I will say this is obviously like maybe not Mr. Baker at his worst, but it is certainly not a good budget or him caring about the performance. So,
you know what? I am willing to say that this is Tom Baker at his worst. having seen everything, like I like Tom Baker. He's not my favorite Doctor, but like I like him. I think he does a good job. I think he did a good job in the 50th anniversary special. I think he did a good job when he was on the show. I do not think that he gave a shit about this.
I gotta clarify. I think that he did a good job working. He was a good actor. He performed well. I think he cared, obviously not this, but generally like perform onto the show. My things against him are purely vitriol toward having to see him with my eyeballs.
Yeah.
And I admit he can't help that.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, yeah. I am angry. Like, if you're going to do a good job, don't also kiss Romana, because that's also the bit of like, oh, but she's so pretty. And then if I want to see Romana, I also have to see him. And that's a bad time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, he is not to blame for the fact that this episode is just him swimming in a petri dish for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
he asked for that. He was like, on one condition.
Tom Baker's writer has gotten weirder and weirder with every
you know that maze screensaver? Put me in that.
Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, look, even like he's clearly phoning it in, but even phoning it in is like better than a lot of actors actually putting effort in that I've seen in my lifetime.
Yeah. Like, this is probably the most Tom Baker I have seen in one continuous go. And I can tell that he is a talented actor, and I can also tell he is giving as much effort as everyone else on the set that day.
Yeah.
And that's totally fair.
I gotta say for him, like, as he ages, I have less of a thing against his face, because after a while he just looks like he's just an old man. That's just what old people look like. Age is a thing that is very natural, very human. It is when he is a young man, but he has an old man face. But when he was a young man. To be fair,
most British men look like old men, regardless of how old they are.
And that's kind of like, because seeing him like this, I'm like, well, I don't have any like things against this, because this is just, like, this seems appropriate and normal, versus seeing kind of like Tom Baker at his peak is also like the most potent, I feel.
Yeah, there's I frankly cannot believe that we've been talking for almost 40 minutes about this clip. That's incredible.
About this knockoff Carmen Sandiego cosplay.
Oh my God. I'm never going to be able to watch a Tom Baker episode and not think about that now. That's entirely accurate. Josh, can you refresh our memories one more time about where we can find all of your things?
All of them. You can find me, Josh Kloss, at joshkloss.com. That's Kloss with a C. And there you'll find my comics and my book, hopefully books in the not too distant future, and links to my Twitch, twitch.tv/5ironfanatic, my YouTube, which is mostly VODs from those Twitch streams and occasional other things. And I don't have a direct link to level99challenge.tumblr.com there. Maybe I should, but you can also find that on the internet.
Great.
And that's me.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Heart Vein Chronicles, just because I feel like we've talked about that the least?
Yeah, the Heart Vein Chronicles is the story of two mermaid sisters who they are both in the running to be the chosen one. And one of them is chosen and she's like, no, it shouldn't be me. It should be my sister. And so she runs away and becomes a pirate.
Incredible.
And then various things happen from there.
Amazing. That sounds gay?
Yeah.
Cool. To our listeners, I want to be clear. That was a gay in a good way. I don't want to get canceled for using...
When you say gay, do you know what you say? You're gonna summon Hillary Duff onto this podcast.
Is Hillary Duff a homophobe?
No, she was the one that was in those like anti-gay, like don't say gay as a pejorative. Or I feel like
is that what the don't say gay bill means?
That sounds like a Hillary Duff, but it might have also been someone else.
I think Hillary Duff.
It was in like a think before. Yeah. She was just like in a PSA being like, don't do that.
Okay. So when Hillary Duff says don't say gay, she's a hero. And when Ron DeSantis says don't say gay, he's a villain. Is that what I'm hearing? God. So ridiculous. Unacceptable. Josh, thank you so much for being here. I hope we get to talk to you again about Doctor Who sometime, mainly because I would love to expose you to episodes that aren't garbage someday.
I think that our first two episodes from the past few weeks, like I could see what was happening and like the reflection of, oh, this is part of a bigger story. Like, even though one of them was sort of part of a one-off, I could see, you know, the overall, I admire you and what you've done, and looking at it. This is just a man in a room and a blue screen.
Pretty much. Yes. Well, listeners, please join us next week when we are talking about 40 Seconds of the Pirate Planet Part 1. You know which 40 seconds I'm talking about. they probably don't. That's an absurd thing for me to expect of them. And go look at all of Josh Klaus's things because they're great and they deserve your love and attention and money and time and likes and subscriptions and Twitch React things and
hand-stitched murals.
7 strands of your hair.
Yes.
Put into an envelope and then set on fire.
If it's 6 or if it's 8, what the hell are you doing?
It must be 7. It must be on a waning moon. And then the contract will be sealed.
Oh, and also go check out Strumpets and Flagons, which is an RPG podcast that Josh ran for us. And I'm on it. And nemesis of the show, Ben Paddon, is on it. And former guest of the show, Riley Silverman, is on it. And former guest of the show, Laser Weber, is on it. And it's fun.
It is fun.
I have technically been in the background while you were doing the podcast with my noises edited out.
So when we do the chronological reconstruction of Strumpets and Flagons,
it'll just be like bits of Ben's audio, but only like the silence where you can just hear me opening a fridge.
Yeah, exactly. All right, bye everyone.
Bye-bye.
Oh wait, as we say at the end of every episode. Sometimes people are just too tired to give a shit. And that's okay. I really didn't know what I was going to say there, and it ended up being a lot more of a positive message than I frankly intended to.
It was very heartwarming.
Yeah.
For the children, don't give a shit.
And if they do, I am apparently going to kill them or do something. I don't know what Tom Baker thinks I'm going to do to the children, but I'm going to get them.
And as we say at the end of every episode, Mandy's going to get them.
I'm going to get those kids.
How have we not gotten canceled yet? Okay. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening to Stitches in Time. Music by Becca McGlynn. Art by Mandy Oquendo. Logo by Ben Paddon. Produced by Becca McGlynn and Ben Paddon. Check us out on socials at Who Stitched. Sorry, I'm going to re-record the intro because I realized I made a mistake. Welcome to Stitches in Time, the podcast discussing Doctor Who the way it was meant to be watched, in chronological order, one clip at a time, starting at the Big Bang and ending whenever Mandy gets tired of me.
Okay, that one was clean, thank you.
Yeah, cool.
And ending whenever they ask us to stop doing this, please.
There's part of me that's like, I hope they do ask us to stop because then we'll have an excuse. Oh my god.
It's like, oh, you made it.
And then it's just Teeth the podcast.
Right. Yes.
She's out there somewhere. We must be on our guard and we must stop her before she destroys all of my other selves.
Yes. Tom Baker, of course, the 5th Doctor. I always have to do that now. And now that I made a little spreadsheet about it, and I can access it at will, and now I can tell you what number the Doctors are in this edit.
And that spreadsheet is a lot longer, because you sent it to me, and it's a lot longer than what I expected it to be.
Yes. There are between 40 and 62 Doctors.
Why is that between? Why do you have why is there room for error?
Well, so one numbering system is just strictly every time there's a new actor playing the Doctor that we haven't seen before, or a different incarnation of the Doctor. So we've got 1 through 11. Mm-hmm. And Josh, I know this is going to be really interesting for you specifically, because as an avid Doctor Who fan. So we've got the first 11.
I love the character Doctor Who.
Yeah. Send your complaints to
Josh. There are entire movies where he is Doctor Who. There are 2 whole movies where his name is Doctor Who.
That's true. That's true. Grand Moff Tarkin plays Doctor Who. Is the only person to ever play Doctor Who. Yes. So Matt Smith, David Tennant, William Hartnell, David Tennant again. That's the 10th and 14th Doctors are now the 2nd and 4th Doctor. Tom Baker, Ncuti Gatwa, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, Peter Capaldi, Sacha Dhawan. Jodie Whittaker is number 11. And then the next Doctor is David Bradley, who is either the 12th Doctor because he comes after Jodie Whittaker, or he's the 3rd Doctor because he's playing the William Hartnell Doctor in Twice Upon a Time. So that's where the numbering gets
timey-wimey.
Quirky. Timey-wimey. Exactly. And I will reveal more of these Doctors as we run into them. But we've already seen, we've got all of the Doctors from Doctors Assemble. We've got, and I think that's where we are right now. We've seen 27 Doctors so far.
And that would lead you to believe that we've gone through a lot of this edit, and we have not.
No, we haven't.
We're on hour 9.
We've just watched a fuck ton of Doctors Assemble. Which is, I'm going to say it, even worse than Dimensions in Time, which is the episode we're talking about today.
Yeah, at least, Dimensions in Time is giving us some drama. Do I think anything is going to live up to that drama? Absolutely not. It is kind of just an old man rambling with shapes in the background.
Mm-hmm.